And here we go. Well, welcome to episode number 29 of You Had Me at Halo, where we talk about one of gaming's most storied franchises. So here we are, about almost 2 weeks since the Halo Infinite tech test. And those of us here on today's panel are sitting here going through withdrawal symptoms. And so we thought to help us cope with those, we talk more Halo. And we do have some new news today. We got some interesting information about the HCS settings. We still need to discuss what we experienced with the big team battle, since the last time we met was before that actually launched. And then we'll also talk about a final update, one of the final updates to the MCC collection. But first off, let's go ahead and meet today's team. First up, we have Spartan Mike, aka Mr. Kage Maru.
Hey everyone, how you guys doing?
Next up, Spartan Jesse, aka Mr. Don Cabeza.
Hello. How are you doing, Abe? You're looking handsome as always. Sexy son of a bitch.
Next up, we got Spartan Ursel, aka Mr. Soul Blazer.
Hey, you guys. How are you doing today?
Good.
Then we have Spartan Daniel, aka Mr. Nadian.
Hey guys, good to be here.
Is it? Yes, it is.
We're doing the best we can. We only got a couple months. Finally,
we've been going an extra year. This podcast was starting up, and we're going into this short few month stretch, and then Halo Infinite will be here, and we'll have so much to talk about. But we made it work.
I know. I don't know how we've been able to drag this out this far.
Almost 30 episodes.
Holy smokes. So finally, it's me.
Who are you?
Abe, aka Mr. One Bad Mother. So yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because we started this a few months before Halo was supposed to launch, right after last year's E3, and right after Mr. Rusting Brute Face made his appearance, and we thought hey, we're gonna just do the launch right up. We're gonna launch the show a few months before Halo launches. This should be a lot of things to talk about up till that period of time, and here we are now, over a year since that time. And interestingly enough, there always seems. I know, it's it still feels like there's always something to talk about, though. With Halo, I guess there's a lot. So we're still making it.
Hey, we picked the right topic then, right?
Yeah, I guess we picked the right game to have a show around. But I think what we're going to do is start off with the news of the day. And we got the news about the HCS and the settings, and so I really just want to kind of open it up to talk about that. Daniel, I think you were looking at all the information on that, right? Is that sitting right? Yeah. So go ahead and update us on what those HCS settings are, and then we can kind of talk about our thoughts on it.
Yeah. So essentially, ranked and competitive, which are the same thing in Infinite. They are setting it up so that players all start with BRs. All the motion trackers are disabled, which is awesome. Grenade hit markers are also disabled, so no pot shots with your grenades hiding behind corners. And the modes that will be present, at least at launch, for competitive are focused around Slayer, CTF, Strangleholds, and Oddball.
And Friendly Fire is on.
Yes, thank you. I forgot that one.
It was in the. I don't think they said it on the video. They said it in the blog.
I haven't even seen the video.
That's right.
The blog.
Oh, watch our stream. You can see the video.
Down notes.
Oh yeah, I'll watch that later. Yeah, nice.
So right now, are you playing the?
This is their match in competitive, where they actually had the Mangler too, the Brute pistol.
And the guy starts off with the overkill.
They had the Mangler, and they also had the other Brute pistol, the one that kind of looks.
Oh, the
simple.
Sunshot from because there's a couple. They've got the Mangler, which is the big Magnum. They've got the electric one, which looks like Sunshot from Destiny 2. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So
they also have the sword.
Controller gameplay, right? That they showed.
Yeah.
It sure feels like it.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
That's my. We'll get to this in a bit, but that's my only real point of contention right now with what 343 have said and have shown. But we'll get to that though.
It still was
let's
three.
talk about
Yeah,
that.
we're in it now.
No. Basically, it's just. I mean, I've always been in this boat. The moment 343 announced that for the HCS or the Halo competitive scene, input's going to be mixed, right? It's going to be you can use either keyboard or you can use controller. Either works. It's all in the same pool in competitive play. I don't like that. Personally, I mean, if it's separate for our own ranked, I feel like the highest level should probably be separate too. You know what I mean? There's a myriad of reasons, but that's the general thing. Where so far I'm like, let's see how 343 takes it. I mean, I'm holding my opinion. If it turns out to be pretty balanced, if it's like even a 60-40 or 70-30 split, that's okay by me. You know what I mean? But if it ends up being like keyboard and mouse dominates, then I hope they take some action. You know?
I mean, it's a good point. I mean, what's the rest of your guys' thoughts on that?
I think they'll be really proactive. I don't think if it's just not working, whatever doesn't work, they are going to listen to the community. They're going to look at their stats and they'll know and they will adjust accordingly. I think they've made it pretty clear, both with support on Halo 4 when it sucked at launch and they made it way better. Still not great, but better. I'm with Soul. I think Halo 4 Big Team Battle became really fun. With Halo
Seriously.
5, they did a ton of listening to the community, and the MCC is a clear, like they listen to what people want. So I have trust they will listen at the very least.
When we first heard about it, I was under the impression until very recently that they were going to have separate. You'd have the option to filter out based on input. So is that
matchmaking?
When you're playing yourself like ranked, yes.
Okay.
But for the HCS, for the highest level professional play, the esports scene, there isn't. Yeah.
Makes no sense to me.
So when everybody here, when we go on there and we decide to play the HCS playlist, we can still filter out the mouse and keyboard if you'd like to.
Yeah. We haven't. It's just ranked for us, right? Technically.
Yeah. But it's going to be an HCS playlist. So, I guess it's interesting. I've always been against it. One of the reasons why I've never bothered, being a PC player, even when I've had PCs that would work, is because I like using the controller and I don't want to play against keyboard and mouse. That's just,
I'm actually worse with keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
So
my
hands are so shaky and shit.
I just don't have the muscle memory or experience. And that's the thing. You're going in fresh where a lot of PC gamers are longtime PC gamers.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's just, that's why even, when it comes to my PC gaming habits, it's generally single player games. Yeah. And like multiplayer, I keep to console just because.
MOBAs, MMOs, games that really thrive on PC are the only ones I really play on PC.
Oregon Trail.
Back in my Battlefield 2 days, that was always PC for me, and I got really used to it because I was always playing WoW and everything was PC. And going back to controller would be like, I want to play Assassin's Creed or something, but when you haven't done it for a while, it takes a long time to get used to again, especially when you realize the best way to do it is to have a low sensitivity but a very large surface area for your mouse so you can really move it around.
Yeah.
And getting a setup like that isn't always the easiest if you're not thinking of that from the beginning when you buy it.
Every time you're playing a PC game, and the moment I gotta lift my mouse, God, no, I don't want to stop. You know what I mean? I hate that.
Back in college, I used. Go ahead, Abe.
No, you talk.
I would say back in college, I used to play CS Strike and the Half-Life 2 deathmatch. If you guys remember that one, but it's just like with the that was a good year worth of playing, and then after that I stopped playing FPSs on PC. And so like Mike said, you lose that muscle memory and it just it's so hard to get back.
It's like I can play on a PC. I'm not going to start dominating. You know what I mean? Of course not. I haven't played thousands of matches on a PC like I have on a controller. But I look at just even this flight. I mean, even a few members of our Discord posted some PC footage, and I'm like, this feels like a completely different game. You know what I mean? How quick they're moving. They're turning themselves around. I was talking to my brother, and he plays Halo a lot. He should be going to the tournament in December too, hopefully. But he's saying like people on PC with the repulsor, for example, they were turning around and back so quickly that they were using the repulsor as a dash. Turn around, use it, and turn it straight back.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Or an instant jump, and then you're back into shooting, stuff like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't lock out to actually make it input based.
This is their one opportunity to try it though, right? So I'm not gonna begrudge them of that. At launch is the moment where like, hey, let's give it a shot. Let's see how it goes. And if it doesn't, they can backtrack.
And they have been testing it for years with professionals. Maybe their feedback is.
I think that's part of the problem though, because they're testing the professionals, but that doesn't account for Joe Schmo that is. Yeah, like, well, I mean, you got to think about like them being reactionary to something like that can potentially have long-term effects. That if you got people that are loading in on their OG Xbox One, or they haven't played Halo since like say Halo 3, and now they're coming back, they're trying to come back, and then they look, and it's easy to come back because multiplayer is free to play, and they're just getting schooled by all these PC people. They're just as likely to drop.
So now we're talking more about social being open, right?
Is it not everything, or
it's
is it only,
you can do input based? Yeah. So the Halo Championship Series is gonna be it is just mixed input, but on console you can just say I only want to play with people on controller.
Yeah, I think.
But by default it's mixed though, right?
For social playlists, I think it is, but for ranked, it isn't. Ranked, I don't think there's even a way to opt in. It's specifically separated through input. At least that's what they mentioned here.
Okay, well that's good, and I think it should be enabled by default, or it should be one of those things that if you have, I'm trying to think of what game, but I know there's a game out there that you are input-based matchmaking, or you're only console until you invite a PC gamer in your party.
Yes, that's Fortnite. Fortnite did that.
Is that for? Okay.
Yeah. I'm playing on a Switch, and suddenly my brothers is playing with like a bunch of other Switch players too. You know what I mean? And I joined their like Xbox party, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, it's that because I've seen some clips, especially on Twitter, where PC people with like the skewer are sick. Like that's a particular weapon where having the precision of a mouse really makes a difference, and so
and that's always been my argument against it, right? Like because I have a buddy who's a developer, and he says, well, with matchmaking it doesn't really matter because you're going to eventually be matched up with skill. But my pushback with that, it's always been that. So it depends on your play style, because if you are somebody that likes to, like, usually controllers are going to give you some advantages with movement, right? Like you can move around a little bit better. You're going to have, whereas with a mouse and keyboard, just in general, I mean, obviously there's going to be
it's smoother movement. You could say.
Yeah. So you're going to be able to it's going to be more intuitive to move around the environment, slide, do stuff like that. Whereas I think with the keyboard and mouse, you're going to be better with precision weapons. But if you are somebody that likes to use a controller and likes to use precision weapons, now that kind of, now that really lowers you down a notch, or makes you start favoring maybe other types of weapons that you normally wouldn't. And it does change the balancing. And so that's always been my pushback. The one thing I'm trying to keep my mind open on this one, number one, you were looking at the HCS and it's a BR start. BRs are generally very forgiving with accuracy anyways.
Yeah.
So you don't, somebody who's really good with a controller or who's like a diamond or above is probably not missing a whole lot of shots with that anyways, right? With a BR, I'd say. So it doesn't really matter if you're mouse and keyboard or controller in that respect from a competitive standpoint. And then the other thing is, the reason I'm trying to keep my mind open is my biggest complaint always when I'm playing Halo is it's really never been about getting beat by somebody better. It's usually, when you don't have enough players and you're playing on servers and you're dealing with latency and you feel like it's not fair that way. So I think by opening up the player pool, you might be able to guarantee that you're going to get a lower ping. Your shots are going to register when you think they should. And, and then, like I said, if the BR is well tuned, where it doesn't give one a huge advantage, maybe the controller really does sit right next to the can sit next to the keyboard and mouse with proper balancing. So I am going to leave my mind open to it. We know that.
Same here. Like 343 have done they've been so communicative, so responsive to the concerns people had. I mean, even just like these settings, right? People didn't want radar, radar's gone. People wanted precision start for ranked, they got it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Grenade markers, gone. Like all this stuff people were constantly talking about after the flights, and almost literally all of it is there.
It's almost like that was the whole point of the flights.
Right? You'd think so.
So what's your guys' thoughts on the starting weapons? Was anybody here hoping for the pistol, the sidekick, or are you guys happy with the BR?
Yeah, I'm happy with the BR.
I think only you, Abe.
I'm happy with the BR.
Yeah, Abe just wanted the Halo 5 pistol, and that was the only weapon in the game.
No, I'm happy. I'm good with the BR, to be honest with you. So is there anybody who wasn't? Because I heard some stuff online. I mean, I think in general it seems like the competitive community is pretty happy about it, but I think the BR does give you, if you're a really good player, it's going to give you the ability to get multiple kills before reloading. Whereas the sidekick, you get one kill and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So, and the BR isn't so powerful that you won't want to find other weapons.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And because everybody's starting with the same thing. I mean, it's already, the only difference is going to be skill, right? It's not about who runs to get X weapon first, who's running to get that BR first. It's everybody's already got it. Okay, now it's about strategy. It's about map placement. It's about map control.
I feel like the BR start, it's not bad, and it's exciting, and it'll be fun to play. But just purely in terms of watching it, I can see if it can get a little boring in a sense. You know what I mean? Because for the most part, you have probably the best weapon in the game. You spawn with it. You're not going to pick up as much. At the same time, though, the sandbox for ranked play isn't as much about the different weapons and you pick up. You know what I mean? So for like big team battle, I do not want precision starts at all. I love the fact that it's AR and a really crappy pistol that you reload, that you switch to only get those last few shots off. You know what I mean? But for it's not crappy, but compared to the Halo 5 pistol,
it's not a sniper anymore.
It's not the same thing, right? I was talking to my brother about this too, who played buttloads of Halo 5, and he's like, "Man, I like the game, but the pistol." I'm like, "Listen, it's not Halo 5's pistol, right? This isn't the game. This isn't the game where you start the game and you instantly press Y and you start running around. You know what I mean? Right. This is the game where you do some damage, and if you miss or if you need a few more shots, you switch over and get those quick shots in. That kind of thing. So again, I'll keep my mind open when it comes to watch it. Oh my god, I'm having like a stroke. When it when it releases, but I think to playment wise, it's great. Like it's gonna feel awesome.
Yeah, and I do think that the BR, it's a really nice. Well, so one of the things I mentioned in previous shows is that the pistol kind of flattened the sandbox, right? Like even in the regular social modes, when you're starting with a pistol, it was one of the best weapons in the game. It had a short time to kill if you were accurate with it. You never really needed to grab anything. I do think they have some other things in this. It is going to be a flatter game when you have a BR start, because a BR is a really effective weapon, and I think that's okay because they do have such good sandbox modes in the social, so it's going to give you both of those. You can bounce back and forth. But the other aspect is that I think that some of the other weapons, the time to kill is not. There's some weapons that if you master, like the commando, for example, your time to kill is going to be lower, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you're not really skilled, it's not going to be. You're going to stick with the BR. But for the higher rank, which is the whole point of this, is for the more skilled players, they are going to run to other weapons still. So it's not necessarily, it's not like you don't need to grab anything else, but. Oh, yeah. Where'd he go?
Oh, shoot. Hold on. I think my camera came unplugged. Give me 1 second.
It broke everything.
Wait,
I'm blocked.
Where am I?
You're everywhere again. The moment someone drops, OBS likes to resize horribly. Yeah, so it'll probably make you tiny in a minute, but it is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
There it goes. All right.
Sorry, this hub sucks.
Yeah, we're in our tech preview, too. We're working out some bugs. But yeah, so at the end of the day, I first of all, the BR was a lot of fun to use when we played the big team battle. But I think that it's nice that if the casual modes or the social mode, maybe not casual is not the right word, if the social modes didn't really nail the sandbox and make that something that I wanted to play a lot, you know, I might have more issues, but they really seem like they got those right this time, right? So it's like you can play it in the mode that feels more like Halo CE, or you can do the the mode that feels more like Halo 2 or 3, you know, out the box. So I guess I don't have any problems with it.
Yeah.
Does anybody feel differently?
No. I wanted to say that's something Halo has been really good at, in my opinion, which is really separating that sweaty competitive arena gameplay to like the casual. I mean, it is casual, right? If I open up a big team battle,
instead of casual in like ranked, let's call it Kage and proven.
But like, unless I'm queuing up with a full team of 12 people, and to be honest, even then, I'm playing big team battle for fun. You know, I'm not taking it that seriously. The Sandbox reflects that, I feel. You have these weapons, you have this stuff, and reading one of their points here, and I guess I didn't really pay attention to this, but they specifically mentioned that all the weapons and grenades and equipment are in static spawners in the ranked playlist, which implies they weren't for the social. Which, to be honest, I didn't even.
They had a couple of different, like it could jump in between rounds. Okay. Like you load into this version, the hammer's down there. You load into the other version, the shotgun, or, you know, different type of stuff.
But yeah, what I mean is like it feels like they have, I don't want to call it an advantage because other games have that aspect too, right? Between competitive and social, but Halo's really gives like you like a big divide between the two. Which is a good thing, in my opinion, because not everyone wants to play competitive. Not everyone wants to play to have fun.
Right. No, you're right about it. I think they finally got both. Halo 5 was really good for competitive. It was not very good for social.
Social was just lesser competitive.
Yeah, everything was sweaty in Halo 5, right? Like they're really, I mean, I even Warzone, which it wasn't something I played a lot, but I jump in it and it's like, what the hell? Like, how did these 12 people coordinate like that? Like they must,
Warzone firefight was like the most casual.
Yeah. There wasn't a lot of casual modes everything was sweaty in 5, which was fine, you know, again for 4v4. So I think that I think it's a good thing they nailed both. The one that some of the interesting aspects for this, though, when you do go to competitive is, you know, you still do have the equipment, which adds a layer that usually doesn't exist. Because, you know, watching them, when we were watching their footage, you know, he's using the repulsor to jump off the ground, using the grapple hook to get out of different situations or to try to take over, you know, spawn points. So there's really a lot more to master. It's not just point and shoot. Like, whereas I do think, you know, when you play Halo 5, I mean, again, as somebody who played a lot of it, like really enjoyed it, it was pretty much point and shoot. If you could hit them in the head, you're going to be better. And this one, there's a lot more things to master, and even situations. Like, I'm kind of curious to see how people are going to really perfect the uses of the grapple shot, and, you know, perfect the uses of the repulsor and things like that. And then the other thing we didn't talk about. So what about the no radar? I mean, I think that's kind of basic for HCS, but
I think everybody but Ursul's probably happy.
No.
Yeah.
You guys
camping
last show, guys. I'm good. In fact, I want the radar in social to be converted back to the first one we had too.
Here's the thing, like, the audio is going to be so good in this game that I mean, the missing radar likely won't matter that much. Especially if you have a good set of headphones.
I'm dying to hear how it sounds with Atmos on.
Yeah.
Once it's fully mixed. Ooh.
Yeah.
It's like the Division 2 has Atmos, and Gears 5 I think had it. And normally I use DTSX on everything, but in a game that is built for Atmos, it's
night and day.
Incredible.
Really, huh?
So good.
Yeah.
DTSX will be better for stuff that's not built for anything, but if it is specifically built and it paid for the licensing fee to do Dolby Atmos, your headphones, and it's like a $10. I think I got it on sale. It's like 10 or $20. Yeah. And if you purchase it on Xbox, you get it on your PC too with both Atmos and DTSX. So it's pretty much a double purchase. Then they're both worth it to have.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. The sound, because even when I was playing, you know, a week and a half ago, I would look at you'd hear the sound first, and then you look at the radar to see if it's your teammate or somebody else. And you can still do the same thing. When you're playing in competitive, you can really, I think the sound gives you a better picture of somebody running up behind you than trying to look at the radar the whole time and figure that out, because you immediately know, right? Like based on the direction where you would want to turn, and then you look in radar, and if it's not one of your dudes, you know that it's somebody's coming around the corner that you need to get ready to shoot. So it is going to add another dynamic to that. End of the day, the lack of radar is just it just ends up resulting in more flow, because people aren't trying to crouch around corners and like just look and see if it's going to light up. I think it just encourages people to move around more. So
I feel like my attachment to the radar was similar to people's attachments to like other aspects of the classic games. You know what I mean? Where it's like I had so much fun using it back in the day that I kind of wanted there. But games move forward, right? The genre moves forward.
I get that. Like I hope they have the classic radar in campaign.
Yes.
Like I want that in campaign.
Yeah.
But when it comes to multiplayer, I want the new.
Yeah. It makes sense.
All right. So anybody else have any other thoughts on HCS before we kind of move to the next topic? Any thoughts?
Nope.
We could talk about friendly fire being on only for ranked and off for social, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Is and it also,
I imagine with friendly fire on, does that also mean that you will hit there'll be
collision?
Interactivity again? Yeah.
We haven't talked about collision at all.
That has been weird. I understand why, because it can be annoying if people troll you and stuff, but it also I did run into a situation a few times where I would go to throw a grenade right as a teammate ran through me. It hit them in the head and landed at my feet.
Yeah. That was especially annoying. Mm-hmm. Plus, it seemed like sometimes in the big team battle, team kill was still on for vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's always, I think.
Like
it's like the campaign version of friendly fire, where you can kill people in the campaign if you run them over.
Right.
Well, friendly fire was always on the campaign. Like,
oh, that's true.
Because like friends and I would melee each other in the back of the head just to get fresh ammo.
I was just so accurate that I never accidentally shot my co-op teammates.
Oh my God.
Like, even GTA 5, right? Like when you're in passive mode, you can still be killed by a vehicle, but not any other method. So I think it has something more to do with like the physics of the situation than anything.
Cars.
Yeah, because it could break things if you got hit by you could just go flying all the way across the map while you're holding the flag if somebody ran you with a warthog.
Exactly.
Just right up the backside. Just bap.
I think I do like that friendly fire is off in like big team battle. Because you would get moments where you'd pick up a power weapon and someone just like smack you in the back or shoot you or something. You know what I mean?
I mean, as many times as Mike killed us, me and Abe just playing co-op with vehicles and grenades and stuff.
Absolutely never. Never killed anyone.
I'm pretty sure I've got a video somewhere.
I have, I have a video. I have you're talking about ODST. I have it. Oh, I have the receipts.
Britt is saying that mostly Harmless mentioned that collision looks like it's off in the HCS, probably in the video that we saw, which makes us wonder whether it'll be in the game at all. That's an interesting question.
That is an interesting thing. Like you would think collision would exist in HCS. I don't know if I'm good with that, but I guess we'll wait and see how.
Four people though. I mean, how often are you going to collide with people? Big team battle, it happens pretty often, but like a big team of 4.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I guess we'll see when it actually launches.
It just doesn't. To me, it just doesn't feel right when you do run through somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess we'll wait and see on that. But overall, I think the settings they announced, the BR starts, the no radar, the no hit markers, that all seems like in general it's been positively received. Not a lot of controversy. We don't have a whole lot to debate about on it. So. I guess we can move over to the next subject, which isn't that debatable either, but it is kind of interesting. So, who here has the update on the MCC stuff?
Yeah, let me pull that up really quick. Let me just run through it really quick.
Yeah, just run through it.
Okay. So basically, we've got the 100 new tiers of content, which mainly consists of different cultural piece armors. So obviously, the Spartans. We've actually got a full Spartan set. There's some, I think, Greek in there as well. There's like a plague doctor. So they're kind of all over the place. There's a whole new map Icebox, which is originally for Halo Online. It is now in matchmaking for Halo 3. There's some new collectibles in game for Halo 3. So they were like golden Moa statues, which is awesome. And then cool. The biggest thing, I think, kind of what we talked about earlier, is that the ODST Firefight has received a bevy of updated options, which right now, I mean, they've got a ton of new options for your actual game type, but more importantly, they're adding new enemy types. So as of this moment, they've added Sentinels. Within the next update, they will also add Flood as well as Elites, which people who've been testing within Halo Insider have already played with those, and they're just kind of ironing out a few things before they put them in the public release. And then there's a few other things, but the other big thing was the custom game browser support for Halo CE and Halo 3. So yeah. it's a pretty beefy.
It's a big update. Yeah. What the?
Yeah.
Hell?
There's a ton of stuff. I've been playing. I put them in probably about 15 matches since it came out yesterday, and it's pretty sweet. I mean, they've definitely put in a ton of work for their final season.
Yeah. Did you include the Halo 2?
No. Yes. Thank you, Mike. Take that one for me.
Yeah. They improved the Halo 2 Classic version or mode to make it more in line with the OG Xbox. Quiet, Jesse. And fixed a lot of the broken Vista legacy stuff. Still not 100%, but much 1,000% closer. Like now, it seems like the only thing that's stopping them is just little things, like little bugs or something. Because like one of the transition parts in the beginning, where it had like might have been the Banshees that were swooping in before they transitioned to another scene. You could see them stop moving before the transition kicked in. Stuff like that. And also for the Prophets and really and I think the Brutes too, the facial animations were glitching the hell out. Like it looked like it was running at a different frame rate or something. That was kind of twitchy. Humans looked fine, but it was like such an improvement over how it's been. And like I like to go back. I mean, I very, very, very much prefer the art in the remastered Halo 2. Like that, art I think was one of the biggest things that held back OG Halo 2 in my opinion, and one of the reasons why I thought CE looked better in ways. But still,
they had grand ambitions that the hardware could not
match.
Get to.
Yeah. Another quick thing too, Mike. They I don't know if you remember the Halo 4 cinematic for Reclaimer. In the MCC, it was always like the brightness was always way blown out, and so it was not reflective of the original cinematic. They finally fixed that as well. So it's just like the one cinematic that had an issue for MCC in Halo 4, but they went back and fixed it. It's
in Halo 4?
So Reclaimer, the final cut scene where you're still on Infinity, and that's the one where your chief is going AWOL and Commander what's his face
Lasky.
Oh yeah.
No, not
Oh, Del Rio.
The one who's like
yeah.
Del Rio,
That's Captain Del Rio, not
I
Commander.
order you to surrender that
AI. Yeah.
Give me that AI!
Completely off in that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly. So it's just, I mean, there's a huge amount of stuff that they've added in this update. It's really a testament to how much work they put into this thing. It's crazy.
So what's your guys' first thoughts when you see all this
armor?
No, let's go ahead and start.
My first thoughts, I was probably like 3 or 4 that I can remember. I think I got a good birthday present. Oh, you meant for? Sorry.
Good Lord. Yeah, no. But I mean, so like one of the first things that came to my mind is I look at some of these things that they're updating with MCC, and I'm kind of taking it forward, right? Like, what does this mean for Halo Infinite? Yep. You see this sort of large scale update across the board for both the quality of the actual campaign, additions to the firefight. Now we do have to talk about some of those, those armor sets. I don't know about that.
You're going to be seeing stuff like that in Infinite, and they're called fractures. Enjoy.
That's probably
my concern. Like that, and that's what I'm thinking. And I know this is probably going to sound, I don't know, pessimistic, but like I think this is them, and like in a way conditioning the Halo audience to accept those more varied Halo type, like armor types. Because we know that they're,
Hayabusa.
Yeah.
That was so subtle, though. That was so subtle.
It was not subtle.
It was very much subtle.
It was. It had
the
katana on the back. It had the shoulder plates. It had the helmet was not at all geometrically.
But it was cool, so we forgave.
It was cool. So it was a Spartan helmet. I'm just simply saying,
this having a big fin on your helmet,
that's just not even. That's not practical.
No.
Like our team is told, do what you want to do is the feeling I've gotten from these sets, where it's like go as edgy as you want, to go as historically inaccurate as you want, have some fun, and that's what they look like to me.
The other thing, they're optional, and you can turn them off. You can turn the.
I don't like, but like I was saying, like
wait. Repeat that, Daniel. So can I turn off other people's, like, so I don't have to look at the Spartan helmet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if I don't want to see, you with some goofy Fortnite-ish, armor, because it just doesn't feel Halo to me.
Fortnite and all those old Spartan and Plague Doctor outfits they have.
I was gonna say, like, the Spartan. These are based on.
But
if that's the case, then I guess I'm okay with it. Like if I can turn off.
Yeah, you can turn off custom skins.
But when monetization is added to the game, how likely are they going to allow you to turn that off in Infinite?
You can't turn it off in Infinite. I don't believe. No.
I mean,
that's the thing. Like, I think this is them conditioning Halo, like the fan base, to be more accepting, and not only more accepting, but wanting, to like dive into getting these, different armor sets.
How much do you think Infinite's actual playing population will be playing Halo 3 in 2021? You know what I mean? It can't be that high of a number.
A lot.
I don't know.
Especially with how often people say
Halo
that
3?
Like, especially how often you see people on the internet saying that Infinite is, like, the most fun they've had since Halo 3.
Yeah, though even that I feel is more nostalgic than anything else, to be honest. Because Halo 3's gameplay is very, you need to love it. You know what I mean? Like Halo 3, I love Halo 3. It's probably my favorite Halo out of everything. That includes the campaign, though. When I go back and I play multiplayer, I generally try to avoid it because there's it's not hit scan, right? Pretty much everything is you have to line your shots up, or even the BR makes it like really difficult. Like you really got to play this game to get good at it, and that's the feeling I've always had with Halo 3.
I mean,
so
go ahead,
Daniel. No, you
go ahead, me
first, Daniel.
I was gonna say my question, and this is kind of like Nick has kind of alluded to this kind of thinking a lot on the podcast, is that what does it affect? Like, if somebody wants to deck out their Spartan, I mean, if the hitboxes are the same, right? What does it matter? I mean, and that's my thing. Like, it doesn't. If I wanted to be the plainest, like, old man Master Chief and not have any armor aside from my Mark V or whatever, then awesome. But I don't know. Like, I guess I'm trying to figure out why it matters so much.
I'm not opposed to customizations, but like, there just comes to a point where it just breaks the art for me. Like, it doesn't. I mean, I'm not like, customization has been in Halo since Halo 3, and I've generally been always fine with it. This is honestly the first time that I look at any kind of customization options and I'm just like, just no, just no. And it like, it just, there is, and granted, yeah, like it doesn't affect me, but I think it could affect the overall, how do I put it? Not even the feel. So like, there is an identity, to Halo, and that is what I hope isn't lost, because you look at something like, what's that? Is it Time Splitters? Is that the Halo
Splitgate?
Portal Splitgate? Thank you.
Yeah.
Time Splitters
that had that had kind of a more generic identity.
Super generic. What the heck is that?
But if you look at the armor sets that they added to it, though, it has no identity now. It has batshit. You dropped acid for 3 days straight, and this was the armor types they came up with. Like it's just like they instead of like improving a direction and leaning into that, it's just batshit insane now, and I don't want that in Halo. Like I don't want Halo to lose its identity because there's a bunch of Fortnite kids that need to have a new.
Want to fit on there.
I think the fractures are the once in a while thing. The more. Can I say what the league? I mean, they've literally said what season 1 is focused on, and that's Halo Reach. And so they've shown all those armor sets. So the main armor sets you earn are all the ones they've shown already, like Emil and George and Carter. Those are like the main armor sets. And then there's the one fracture one of the samurai armor, which and the fractures will come and go. Like they're up for a week. If you get all the challenges, you finish it. And then if it comes back a month later, you don't have to redo those. Those challenges are still done, and then you can just finish it then. Like it keeps your progress. And the fractures where it's not lore appropriate are the occasional event. And after like 6 or 7 years, there'll be a bunch of them. But for the start, they are definitely focusing on classic lore-friendly Spartan character armor.
Like even MCC, it was only until literally this very last season.
It was literally just a season.
And it really went off.
Hey guys, we're finishing.
They specifically said they gave the team kind of free reign because it's a send-off. It's literally just, hey, we've put in 5+ years of work into this game. We want to do something fun, and they're all, aside from the Plague Doctor, they are all historically based around warrior classes of different cultures. And literally, we joke about the fin, but that's literally a Spartan helmet from 300 BC.
I didn't catch that actually. That they're based on warrior classes.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Like
it is.
Spartan. No, it is.
Yeah.
Like, he's entirely right. I don't agree with it being in there, but he's entirely right.
Why would you put a fin on your head?
Those fashion
it feels like
people have always done some weird things with
just don't look into the other things the Spartans did.
Barristers still wear wigs in England. So.
I'll wait until when they come out with the armor that's like a cowboy hat, I'll start yelling again. But until then, I guess I will relax.
They should do a Lil Nas X collab, and they've got the black and the red cowboy hat, and you got your whole sparkly outfit.
Yeah,
like the devil horns.
Mike would just immediately keel over, and
not my Halo.
Like Infinite will never hit Fortnite levels. In fact, I think very few games would, of like sheer insanity in the amount of clash you have. With designs and whatnot, you know what I mean?
Well, Fortnite knows how unbelievably fickle a young audience is, and they had to reinvent it and come up with big collabs to keep pulling them back in every few months. And I'd like 343 is a big company, but they're not going to push their creators to come up with stuff as often as Epic did because they're trying.
It's unsustainable.
They understand.
How long until they run out? Like they've had partnerships with literally everything. At a certain point, the well runs dry. You know what I mean?
No, because then you just go to the new shows that just started. You'll have a Squid Game collab.
That's kind of like where that's where I think a lot of these decisions are due to the monetization aspects of it, because you have your poses in the beginning, you have your victory poses at the end, you have the friend and foe tags. That is
Yeah,
so
but
you
the
can
thing,
keep your customization. Like that is all of it is centered around monetization.
Yeah.
And it's and I'm fine with that to an extent, especially with it being free to play. Like I'm not gonna be like an old man yelling at the clouds saying no monetization in this game. That
Too late.
You'll still be an old man yelling at the clouds.
You gotta just like keep it sensible and keep it fair and stuff like that. Like it's
I agree.
That's all that I'm asking for.
Okay.
I was going to say that's something that I've looked at a lot, especially with ESO, since Microsoft purchased since the completion of that purchase. They have a mandate now where in ESO you have to be able to earn everything that's in the store via in-game activity. It's still they have a whole new currency now where you literally do different challenges and you earn crown crates or crowns. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's surprising.
So, that's like the
cash shop is just the cash.
That is a Microsoft mandate.
Yeah, that's the Sea of Thieves thing.
That's what
with ancient coins you can find them.
Exactly.
So we think this is a.
Well, I'm not concerned with what. Go on.
I was going to ask you, Daniel. Is that something that's across the board now in all the so everything? It's a Microsoft game. You have to be able to earn it in game.
That's from an interview that I read specifically about that move with ZeniMax. That is according to them a mandate for Xbox. You have
unless
to be
you're
able
Mo
to earn. Unless. I think you're right. I think
I'm not concerned about them offering in-game options to buy those out of monetization. I'm just concerned about what that's going to drive.
Yeah, the fractures are always be free. They say.
No. I'm not even. Not even at being the main drive. Just how much of that is
like how far do they go?
Well, how much is that is going to influence their creative freedoms? That's when it comes to the multiplayer. Like
okay, I mean, I'd argue that you have more creative freedom when you're not tied down to the age-old Halo aesthetic. You know what I mean?
That's what killed Marvel's Avengers and having to be lore appropriate with their outfits and stuff. And you could only have one of each character because it wasn't lore appropriate for you to be able to have 3 Iron Man.
Disney's like real fickle.
But all that sounds like his justification to have that stupid cowboy hat that Abe was talking about. Like, I don't want that. Like, I'm sorry, call me an old man or whatever, but I don't want shit like that.
I
want stuff to respect the not so much the lore, just the identity of Halo.
I feel you. And I think at least for the first few years, you're not gonna get anything crazy drastic where you're gonna look at it and be like, "What the heck is this?" You know what I mean? But maybe like 6-7 years. I mean, that's a long time.
I mean, we talk about multiplayer leaks, right? Not campaign. There's some pretty crazy textures in there. You want a Santa hat, you want antlers, you want a reindeer hair.
We're gonna get festive stuff for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we go.
I'm going to bet you constantly about things, and the punishment for you is always going to be you have to wear the Santa hat or the antlers or something like that when you're playing for a week.
Especially Mike. We're just going to make him wear the Santa hat. Yeah. All right. Well,
all right, Mike, you're wearing the penguin head for a month.
We have spent a good amount of time complaining about the fin. So obviously I wouldn't be a fan of that stuff. We, all of us. Well, whatever. Me and Mike are yelling at the clouds, and you guys are, fine with it. Let's real quick. Does anybody want to say anything about anything else there? I mean, like I said, I think what was interesting.
The firefight.
Yeah, the firefight.
Also, the mods we didn't talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't know much about them. I was reading the title that says mod support for Halo 2 Classic and Halo 3. So I'm assuming there's something there. I don't know.
They've talked about them. That's like the end game is to make the game friendly so they can hand it off to the community and the community can come up with ways to keep it going forever, essentially, with fully moddable versions. But those versions can't do... So you have 2 AXEs, I believe. One that lets you play online, and then one that you can fully mod, and then you can do like casual stuff, but not like any ranked or anything like that.
Looks pretty cool.
Because no anti-cheat, so you can have the mods and all that.
Yeah. And one thing, Daniel, you mentioned it kind of briefly. The whole has MCC been doing this for a while? The whole golden MOAs thing. Or
No,
just
that's new.
relatively new,
That's
because it's
brand
actually
new.
really interesting. It's
Yeah.
for those who don't know or haven't read it, it's every
It's
week
essentially like
they'll
skulls.
they'll hide these little statues around the Halo 3 level campaigns, and every week it refreshes to other areas. And there's like weekly challenges and scoreboards, who finds them the quickest, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. So it's actually
Interesting.
It's actually really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're blending that into the game. The reason I'm looking at a lot of these updates is because I feel like a lot of it is a foreshadow for some of the things that we could expect in Infinite. So that's where I find the most interest, because obviously when Infinite comes out, the only way I'll end up touching the other ones, it was just to do like a nostalgic, campaign playthrough or something. But
or like Shotgun in a portal room without shields.
Yeah, no, not that stuff anymore. But the thing is, I do look at some of these updates, and it's like, well, what does that mean for Infinite? And they're adding stuff to Firefight still, and this update was pretty big. The fact that they're still updating graphics and performance for a campaign, I mean that's kind of
incredible.
That's telling on an old game, right? So like who's to say? Whatever the graphics launch at here, they're probably going to be better down the road. Whether and that's something going back to what we talked about, over the last few months about this platform. There is advantages to the fact that it is a platform. The fact that this is going to be this ongoing thing they're going to continue to build off of, and I think that just seeing some of those updates, it gives some exciting insight into what could happen with Infinite.
Brave New World.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Mike and I talked about this a while back, but like, I look at State of Decay 2, and that's gotten essentially 3 engine revisions, and it's only been out for since 2018 May. Yeah. So that's extremely impressive. Now apply that to something like this, where we know it's going to be out for 5, 6, 7, hopefully 10 years, as they call it. Like when you shed that old Xbox One skin and can really kind of tune it to some of those additional hardware efficiencies of series consoles and PC, it's the future is very bright. It's exciting.
All right, good stuff. So any last thoughts on the MCC stuff, or
we need to have a Halloween flood firefight when that comes out.
Oh, that'd be really cool. A firefight is 4 people, right? Or is it more?
Yeah. So we'll have to kick Jesse off or something.
Wait,
or Abe, since technically he's the worst player.
What? No, I'm only the worst at Souls modes when I don't know the rules.
I don't know. I saw some of those videos on.
You have Jesse just looking, and you just have Abe and Mike just sitting in their cars, not moving, not accelerating.
Okay, so in our defense, that was kind of confusing because it wasn't clear to me who was driving and who was on the rocket until I hit trigger, and then
I was thinking about that one where Abe just gets wrecked by that banshee out of the sky that just lands right on him.
You're all gonna pay.
Abe always has bad luck with vehicles killing them at random. So
yeah, I do play a lot of 4v4.
Is Flood Firefight out with this update, or is it not out yet?
That's coming out in the next patch. So I think within the next couple of weeks, they said.
Okay, all right. Because that is what I was waiting for. Yeah.
Yep. So Flood might be a foreshadow, huh? Maybe.
I mean, it's part of the multiplayer leaks with him. All the call outs for different modes, and some of them are flood over and over again in various things. So
I'm still not sure if they'll be in campaign though.
I mean we had a breakdown video of a tease. Weren't you the one that narrated it?
Yeah, no. Right as in right as in yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
and honestly, it wasn't
until that
Jesse,
video. I'm keeping his face kind of blocked with my hand here. I know he's seen the leaks. So.
And it wasn't until I watched your video actually that I didn't realize that there was one of those what looked like cracks was actually kind of twitching.
That's the thing, right? I think Proven, we saw it first on a forum, then Proven looked at it, he's like, yo, this might be it. And we're like, I think that's the most clickbaity we've ever gotten on the channel. I think that's our most clickbait video, because the title's what, like Flood confirmed for Halo Infinite,
No,
I mean,
no.
I thought
Our most clickbait thing is Nick's Bungie article, but we should.
Yo. Cold-blooded.
Our most
right,
clickbaity
guys,
thing is the rumor mill. We all know it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Had a rumor.
All right, so let's go ahead because we are we're almost an hour in, and we haven't even touched on the big team battle yet. So,
main thing.
yeah.
I do need to head out though. I feel like in between topics is a great time to do it. I can only stay for an hour. I've got a bunch of stuff due tonight at 12. So
okay,
hopefully I make it.
Yeah.
But
Echo
anyways,
generation, or you're dead.
Oh yeah, no, the Echo generation is making it. It's Nick Brawl more so. I need to get out. Anyways, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, so
I look forward to seeing someone else blunder the Patreon shout out at the end this time.
I won't let you down.
And I will see you guys.
all right, so
Later,
thanks.
so.
You brother.
Goodbye.
All right, so let's talk about big team battle because we had our chance the last time we met. It was right on the precipice of the big team battle weekend, and now we've all had a chance to dive in and play with some big teams. And I guess I'm going to just open it up. I'm going to keep this question pretty open to begin, rather than focusing in on all the little aspects of it. Just general thoughts. Like, what is like one of the first things that stands out to you? Let's go ahead and start with you, Mr. Mike.
It was kind of chaos in the beginning. I don't know what it is, but like it just seemed like I was getting killed from every which way in the beginning. Before it was probably just I wasn't used to the layout of the map.
Oh, it sounds like you're just back at home, but yeah, keep.
Oh yeah. But it just one of the things with the map is there's so many different paths that like it just seemed like I was discovering more and more different ways to traverse around the level. But once I got used to the map and the flow of the big team, I absolutely loved it. It made a bigger difference than I thought it would, going from 16 to 24, but in a very good way. So yeah, I just huge fan of everything about it, like the map design, the layout. If every single one is designed as well as this one, I cannot wait. I just cannot wait.
Yeah, I think you put it pretty well. And the longer you ever play, the more ways you found to die. Obviously, made you feel all at home. How about you, Daniel? Like, what was the number one thing that kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to play it as much as I wanted to. I only got to play like 5 or 6 matches that weekend. It was a rough weekend, as you guys know. But like, this is gonna sound screwed up because I was the worst teammate for a good 2 matches because the sound design. Like I had my headphones on and I just stayed away from the battle most of the time and just like walked around, and eventually I had to turn my surround sound on and grab my wife because I was like, listen to this, and you could hear like the tree limbs crackling and just this, like you said earlier, you could hear somebody far before you could see them on your radar. It's such. It's revelatory. It is a game-changing experience in the way that they've utilized their sound design in this game, I think, and that map, I think, more than the arena maps really showed that off. I mean, the way that you could hear the battle going on across the map before you could ever see it. I mean, it was incredible. But like Mike said too, I mean, just the sheer. I would love to see kind of a 3D, top-down view of this map and seeing all the different paths, because it is so maze-like in the sense that you just got, 5 different ways to get from one point to another. And I don't know, if it felt like a flood metastasized version of Valhalla in some ways, So that was kind of my takeaway from the map.
Randomly resized freaking Abe again. This damn software. I got it, folks. Yeah, it finally dropped Soul, so it resized him.
Oh, gotcha. All right, thanks.
I wish they had I wish the training mode let you go through the map.
Yeah, that's because I felt so bad that I was just like walking around and like ignoring my teammates and just listening to stuff.
That was probably my biggest disappointment, or my only disappointment with that is I wanted to walk around and not worry about anyone else.
Get to know the map. Well, you'll be able to do that once the game comes out. You can throw it on the custom and just run around and see. I think you brought up some good points, though, Daniel, because I've been on a few different shows since that came out, and that talked about Halo. And the one thing that really people haven't spent a lot of time on is the sound. I know you're like the sound dude. That's like something you really focus on. But you're right.
I'll tell you what speakers I just got. So,
I mean, but you're absolutely right though, because it's not something I've really even talked about or thought about too much since then. But as you're talking, I'm sitting there thinking about like being on one lane of the map, and then you kind of hear all the stuff going on, and it's like you almost knew exactly where it was happening. And I don't remember that happening. I mean, the sound in 5 was good, but I don't feel like I don't feel like it was that like that.
This is another level. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Which adds a lot to not just the immersion, but it infects the gameplay, right? You just listening to where the gunfire is and listening to where you're hearing things blow up, or where vehicles are coming from and things like that. You really don't have to look at your radar very often.
Yeah.
At least I wasn't. The only times, like I said, I would do that, I would look at my radar to kind of see, where my the player counts and things like that when you get into the area. But really, I think just paying attention to the sound goes a long way.
Yeah, and the level of immersion that it introduces with, the bird sounds, and I mean, just all it makes it feel like a real place and not just another video game multiplayer.
The video they did where he was just walking, they just walked you through and gave you all the sounds, like, just let me go through and not be Jez and shoot the cute little space gophers in the training mode, but sadly it wasn't ready.
Yeah, well, then we got to focus on why the gopher explosions aren't up to the par they should be.
The fruit does explode now. I mean, there is that.
Yeah, it's getting there.
But the tires also just explode. It's unacceptable.
So let's go back. So Mike mentioned the map. What was all your guys' thoughts on this map overall? Like the pacing of it.
Yeah.
It felt appropriately sized and sightlined for having that many people. It funneled things into big fights, and every once in a while you got an everyone fight. But quite often, no matter which way I went, I ran into someone. It was very rare that I could go any of the paths and not see someone, because everything was clearly defined. You could still see quite a bit when you were near each base. And I like that as you got further from the base and closer to the middle, you could be more isolated based on the verticality, with like the high cliffs on one side and everything being real low on the other one. And it felt fair, essentially.
Yeah. It was just everything.
Okay, go ahead. I was going to say, did you guys run into any loot cave battles where it was
had
this
a couple,
constant, that was such a nice little. I mean, it's a new addition, obviously, to the series, but it's one of those like diversions that should people think about it, you tend to get 5-6 people fighting back and forth in this brand new little kind of hot zone. It's interesting.
Yeah, I noticed that the maps really throughout the map, like depending on where you were in the map, it was different sort of combat scenarios, and like different weapons probably were more advantageous in certain situations. It felt really diverse in the way things kind of played out. And I'm watching some of these things here now and remembering, some of the close quarter battles you ended up having. Then even if you got in the vehicle, like I felt like vehicles, I know that there's a lot of feedback where people thought the ghosts were overpowered, but overall I felt like because of the way the map was designed, like you you could corner people or hit them with grenades.
And
you
if
could
you
jump
can,
them, right?
like things like the Ravager being really strong against vehicles, that was really useful on ghosts. And I did really like the new drop-in system, making it like this focal point every once in a while where you're going to fight over trying to steal their drops. And just how awesome it felt when the Scorpions dropped and you actually got to that point and they were down and they felt like just machines of death with everyone on each team all around them trying to protect them as you're just pummeling people from a distance. It was the flow of the battles, the way the weapons the way the weapons were spaced out and how many of them there were, the way the weapons dropped on the timers and you knew they were coming and everything. It felt so good in a way that I've never really felt about Halo multiplayer personally. I always felt it way too imbalanced and frustrating, and spawn killing always was such a major issue, and this was by far the most fun I've ever had with Halo multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean the call towards the power weapon and vehicle drops really changes that dynamic because it's more democratized so that people aren't, it's not about the few people who memorize the maps and memorize the drops. It's everybody's aware now, and so it brings people to action in a way that they just didn't have before. So
I do wish that they, because like I played I played all weekend, and I think only 2 matches had a tank. You know, like I think they could have done better, and both times it was like at the tail end of a match. So I think they can use some tweaking on that where it's less random, or they give the more, I guess, rare vehicles.
Yeah, they have a higher chance of coming through in an average match, and also the Warthog doesn't flip over if you look at anything too hard.
I was gonna say that next, because like that's another thing. Like sometimes they would drop a Warthog when you have a Warthog. Like give me a tank instead. And then and just like you said, like I love driving with the Warthog, but I shouldn't, flip over 9 times if I hit a rock that's 7 inches high.
I mean, it is Mike, so
it was super bouncy. It was
for me. It was bad.
The actual driving felt great, but it was so bouncy.
Like there was like one time, and it wasn't just a Warthog. It was also the Mongoose, because like there was the one time that Hexer was on the back of me. We were on the Mongoose, and
here's Mike not scoring. Go, Mike. Go on. Score, Mike. Oh my God. Score. Run. Oh my God.
What do I do with the flag? What do I do?
No, I didn't realize that you didn't have to wait for the other flag to return.
Because your flag's always on the different spot, so it's a very different thing now.
Yeah, that was the first time I had the flag. So, but yeah, like I was on the Mongoose and I was hitting all these turns, and like it was a capture the flag, and I hit like a pebble, and it just ruined the entire run, and it
was way too bouncy.
They need to make them. Yeah, they need to make them a bit more bottom heavy.
Drop the helium out of the tires so they don't just like float.
Suspension. They've got lowrider suspensions just bouncing all over the place.
And I'm not. I do wish they didn't mandate it, or however way that weapons had to be on those weapon racks. Because then it always has to be on a wall or on a rock or a column. Like you.
Well, they had the drop-ins too.
Yeah, but those are all power weapons.
Yeah.
Like snipers, rockets, stuff like that.
They're not ground placements like the old ones. Yeah.
So I would like to them, and that does impose some limitations on where you can place maps or weapons and stuff. And I'm curious to see if that's how that's handled in Forge, because then I could see in Forge them letting you place whatever wherever. And
you just have to place a little tiny wall, and then you can put it there.
Oh Jesus, no! I will say though, speaking of walls, I think they did a great job, like adding wear and tear and weathering to the Minecraft columns. Like they look good. And
have you guys ever played Minecraft? I'm just asking.
Look, I'm just saying that because that's were people not calling it?
I wish
Minecraft they were, but yeah, Minecraft is the most low res.
I never agreed with it.
Yeah,
I never
they were
because that
they were just an unfinished texture, and for some reason people always go to Minecraft with stuff like that, which is weird because Minecraft is very much an aesthetic it's going for.
Yeah.
They were very clearly unfinished, and now they look like we would think more appropriate columns of Forerunner design would look.
Yeah, and it just looks. I all of the metal just has this weathered look to it, and you got the different details with like the dirt kind of being brushed over it and stuff like that. It's just there are so many little details. But then like right now when you're inside an area, it's that kind of like polished look that hasn't been touched in centuries and stuff. And it's there's a lot of visual storytelling in a multiplayer map alone that it just I can't help but appreciate.
Yeah, they've talked about the story of multiplayer a lot and how your Spartan is like a real thing in the universe, and they want you to feel like you're a part of it. And I think that's definitely come through in everything we've seen. Yeah.
I think just the attention to detail kind of grabbed. I did want to go to one thing you were talking about though, Jesse, because you mentioned you were talking about. I think you were the one mentioning the with the vehicles and some of the weapons that can kind of offset that. That's one thing that really stood out to me from a gameplay standpoint. That was more balanced than I would say classic Halo. A lot of times in classic Halo, if you got if one team got all the vehicles, they pretty much were just going to just wreck everything.
And the only thing you could do was try and get a plasma pistol and get lucky. And other than that,
well, there was generally like very few options. You had a plasma pistol or a laser or a rocket launcher or something.
Yeah.
But now anything works because you can take out the tires and then they drive like absolute dog shit. And it's like you have legitimate things you can do if
so
you
many
aim well.
ways. Yeah, there's a. It's not just that. It's like the whole rock paper scissors thing. There's just so many different ways. You can be in a vehicle. Somebody can jack you. Do the grapple jack thing. They can repel. They can, whatever. Stop it.
We should call it rock paper sandbox.
Yeah, thanks.
I like that. I like that.
That's our next title.
Yeah, good title. But between you had that. There was one time like I just hit a Jeep with the Warthog with, I know I called it a Jeep. I hit the Warthog with the hammer and watched it go flipping over. And
if you hit it with the skewer at all, it goes
if you hit
flying.
That is, it is really satisfying to hit it with the skewer, and it does seem to be like really physics based, like where you hit it with the skewer matters. Right, like if you hit it at the tip point, it's gonna respond.
Yeah, like I hit the gunner one time and it like spun it around because the way the angle was going, like everything seems to be taking into account for how it's gonna react to when you do that stuff, and it makes it feel so much better.
Yep. Yeah, so you had that. You had the repulsor, which you can knock it back with that. And I had success shooting people outside of it more than I have in the past. Like I said, the grenades seem to be pretty effective, especially because like a lot of these force you to kind of navigate. You can't just go full speed through things, and if you do, you're going to hit a pebble and be like Mike and end up on your, flipped upside down. So it really gives you a lot of opportunities to drop down from above, things like that, throw grenades from above, and then you have the canisters you can throw at the vehicle. So overall, I just thought the whole rock paper scissors dynamic of the big team battle was really good. The pacing was really good. I was surprised how well 12 players worked.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you guys. I do like Battlefield, but when I play Battlefield, I feel pretty insignificant. Like it doesn't matter if I'm good or not.
Oh, absolutely.
I do feel insignificant on the Battlefield. Whereas here, even though you're part of a pretty big team, 12 people, you still feel like at least I felt like I was part.
Yeah, you feel like you're part of the entire match, where in Battlefield, it's generally I am part of attacking or defending a point, or just trying to go plus instead of plus minus with the KD and team deathmatch type of stuff. You know, like you are a very small part of a huge war. That's the Battlefield thing. But in this, it felt like I'm a big part of a big war.
Yeah, yeah, the pacing was really good, and so that brings me to the 12-player thing. And so what are you, I guess I'll throw it out to you guys. What was some of your thoughts about that? Like, did you feel like it was a lot different with the 12 players versus the 8, or just general thoughts?
Yeah, it was a good change. It was a change, but for the better, I would say. Yeah, like I had concerns that the maps would be too large, or the flow or the pacing would be off.
We talked about that, as a concern, but I didn't feel that.
No.
Yeah, I think because of the size of the maps, having those extra 4 players on each team just dramatically sped up. I mean, it because you still are running farther than you have in previous matches, but because there are players almost everywhere, you don't have the Battlefield problem. You don't have that problem where you're running 3 minutes to get to the fight or to get to the point like you do in Battlefield. It was always constant. I felt like it was like Mike said, it felt different. You could it was definitely a palpable change, but it was a change that had to be made to make the maps of those size still feel like you weren't taking half the match to run to your next point,
right?
Like you do with Battlefield.
Yeah, and you can get across the map pretty well. There's especially if you're good, if you start to master the movement in the map, you can make your as well as it accommodated 24 players. I still felt like it was small enough that you didn't take forever to get to the action. So there was just so much to like about that, and I guess that takes me to my next thing. The number one thing that stuck out to me beyond all the stuff that we were talking about coming into the big team battle was I don't think I felt like that kind of energy within the games I was playing since maybe Halo 3. It was It just having a party of 12 people kind of whooping it up and yelling like, "Oh my God, I can't! Did you see that? Did you see that?" With just the stuff people were pulling off in there, and just kind of like that sort of excitement, and the fact that we had parties of 12 people. And and people were communicating, like yelling at each other to get to certain spots and things like that. It's something that I don't. And again, I maybe I haven't played enough Battlefield, or there's other modes that I'm missing out on that have contained that. But I have not felt like parties that big where everybody kind of felt like it was. I don't know. It like we all just kind of the excitement and things like that, and the communication and. Just how into it everybody was. It was something that really was almost nostalgic. And it's kind of weird for Halo because I play Halo a lot. So it's hard for Halo to feel nostalgic anymore, with as much as I play it. But that felt nostalgic. Big team battle, it more so than the 4v4, even though that's the mode I usually prefer. But big team battle it was probably the most nostalgic I felt about Halo in a long time.
Well, like that kind of felt like the return of, because with Halo 2, they said they wanted to make it feel like a LAN party, but from your couch, right? And that was kind of like this again.
Yeah.
And it had that excitement, like that you're yelling at your friend across the room. When really they're across like the state or something, and the excitement, that's like a great way to put it. Like there was just so much excitement, and it was crazy because there was times that we had issues fitting people in. And like I don't remember the last time I played a game like that in general that had a higher player count. Like you have something like Battlefield. And I love Battlefield, by the way. I've been playing Battlefield since Bad Company 2. But your parties are limited to 4 or 5, depending on the game.
Yeah, it's mostly been 5, and they've been sticking with 4, and it's 4 again.
Yeah. And like we've tried to do things like have a party of 8, so you can have two squads, but then you have the issue where your other squad of friends is on the other team, so like having that like large team base is absolutely just the energy around it. It's palpable. You can absolutely feel it.
Is there anything like that? I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Any game out there that does this, that puts 12 people in a team that way?
I think the largest in Call of Duty was 18 players at once. I could be wrong on that. I'm not a big Call of Duty guy.
Yeah, I'm not either.
So in the chat, correct me when I'm wrong.
I am. I love Bobby Kotick.
I think the other thing too is like we often forget, and I think one of the reasons that there is so much excitement around Infinite is because we've never had this long between Halos, right? It's what 6 years by the time it comes out. And so for us, like the people that joined our community nights, for you and I and everybody on the podcast, like we are fans that have been waiting for this. And so like you're going to have the new crew and the new kids playing, but I think this game more than any other Halo is kind of bringing back a lot of Halo fans because it's been so long, and because this is doing so many things right. It's got an excitement that I think from that alone that none of the other Halos have had.
No.
And plus we just had like a really weird situation where in that time period of not getting a new game, we got better versions, like frame rate and resolution wise, of all the old ones to go back through and get all that hype built back up again. It's like
exactly.
I've gone through and replayed every single Halo campaign like 5 times since Halo 5 came out, probably, and I'm gonna do it again before it comes out. And it's like it just keeps building. And then when the tech test hit and they're really fun, it's like, well, I've already been really wanting this, and after a rough showing last year, I'm actually getting something that feels really great and fun. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, from the first wave of word of mouth from like the pro players that were invited to play it and test it, and then the first tech test, and to that built up so much goodwill and so much hype just from us. Like, how many times did we all tweet about something that we loved about this? And that was the same for all of the people who are Halo fans. And so it's just having this great, really positive knock-on effect. And I think in a way that we haven't really had before, for any Halos, because also we've not had a 6-year gap. So
the closest seems like it was Halo 3 leading up to that.
Yeah,
and that was like the tail end of a big trilogy and stuff. All of that.
Yeah,
and it's just like, and I think another thing that feeds into that excitement is my favorite word, and it's the Sandbox is in full effect in this. And it really is, because I think it was Alana Pierce. She was talking about a game mode, like she's playing Capture the Flag, and she was going through her own story that she was going through her own type of encounters, and then someone else was riding a, what is it, Hornet or Wasp. Someone grabbed the flag and jumped on the Wasp, and they flew them back on the Wasp, and she had no idea that was happening until she saw like the other stream later on after she was done playing. So and just scrolling through Twitter that weekend, there was the one player, and I'm sorry, I wish I remembered his name, where he just picked up a fusion coil and threw it, and it landed and killed on someone. Just random stuff like that. It has not been in Halo for years and years and years. So like,
right,
and just that random Halo magic that happens. It's back in full force, and it really just, especially when you have those things.
And it is random in that the moment we were done playing this too, you guys actually played Alana Pierce and them and absolutely destroyed them. And on their stream, they were calling you all losers with no jobs, and that was funny. So that was random as shit. Like the moment I got off, the next matchmaking match, they literally put you against all those people streaming.
I did screenshot when we played Alana Pierce and her team. I did screenshot the score. So
yeah.
I didn't post it though. I didn't post it because they didn't do as good, and I thought that would not make us look good to post that stuff. But it was kind of fun, and it was actually fun. Mike, I heard the same stream that you're talking about, the podcast, and they were describing that too. And that's really so like to kind of push. I don't want to necessarily push back because I agree with you, Daniel. I do think that there's the time has made people grow fonder or maybe just be anxious. But I've heard some people use that argument to say, hey, when this comes out, people jump on, but then 2 months later, 3 months later, they'll go and do something else. I don't think so. There's nothing. There's no other game in my mind. So what really stood out to me with the big team battle that doesn't even stand out as much in the arena play is just how many more layers this sandbox has now, right? With all the different, equipment, the new weapons, the balancing with everything, and the vehicle. Like it just there isn't a sandbox type of game like this. And I think when Halo comes out, because it is free to play, because it's really now it's the social game, right? Like that's the one thing that stood out to me is like I had that last day before everybody, before the last hour before everything was supposed to close down, there was 3 big parties on my friends list that were full. Mike, you were in the other one. You guys invited me over, and I had to say no because I was in another party. But it was I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a jerk. But they're better than you. I'm just kidding. I was just kidding. I'm joking.
We were playing for 45 minutes after it ended.
I know, but it was like, they were full and everybody was just having I wasn't hearing any negativity or complaining about this or that. Like people were just having so much fun.
Don't worry, we'll get there.
I'm sure we will. I mean, the Halo, we know the Halo community in general knows how to complain better than any other community in gaming, which is also something I keep emphasizing for some of the pushback, which is like, oh well, you guys are just Halo fanboys. It's like, have you met a Halo
fanboys? Like none of us can agree.
Hey, have you gone to Waypoint? Yeah, we're like the worst. We are the worst community to have to be community.
The Reddit Halo is a lovely place. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, the pushback that I would have for those people is that, and it's like clearly if they're making those statements, they don't know Halo, they don't know our community. But
we are the most
given
toxic.
But given that it's launching
on
3 different,
might be more toxic.
No, I think Gears of War is more toxic.
Really?
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Bottom line is we don't agree. We're not easily pleased, right? That's
right. But 3 platforms at once, free to play. If these people think that it's not going to be hanging around or booming in 2 months, they're crazy. I mean, look at the response from the tech test that we just saw versus what people are saying about Battlefield and Call of Duty, which regardless of how they turn out at launch, those tech tests were not good. They were bug ridden, they were performance ridden. And Halo's was by far more polished. So I don't know. I will stake my reputation on that one.
Just think about all the comments and reactions on Twitter saying that these flights have been the most fun that they've had all year in terms of the game, and it's just like you take that and I think what is going to matter in terms of longevity of the player base is, how well do they keep this level of quality across the board? If they have, I don't even think we know how many maps they're going to launch with, and to be perfectly honest, I don't remember how many big team battle maps they typically launch within a Halo game. But let's say it's 5.
I would say 4 to 5, depending on.
Is that fair? But and if 2 of the 3 are great and the other 3 are kind of like, garbage level, which I don't expect at all. But I think the level of quality among the maps is what's going to bring people back and stuff like that. So
I do think they get it though. They have. I mean, they have Max Hoberman's teams in there from the Sam. You know, he's a part of the original Bungie Halo map design. You know, Halo 2 maps was from him, right? And so you have some really talented people making these maps and balancing the single player. But you know, again, going back to what you're saying, you know, Daniel, and even to your point there, Mike, I just think that it's kind of it's familiar, but it's also really fresh in a way. And I even heard that kind of described. There's just nothing. There's like, you know, none of the other shooters really, like, this fills a void that no other game really fills right now when you talk about sandbox gameplay. And I think even Grubb, who's not a Halo fan, was talking about that. He likes sandbox games, you know, and he never liked Halo before, but he just because of the sandbox, he's like, hey, this is fun, you know, and that's what he mentioned. And I just think that it fills its own niche right now. And we know they're going to have crazy stuff. I mean, we're not going to talk about the Forge leagues right now, but we know there's going to be content coming out and building on top of this. But even just where it's at today, it fills a couple things that I don't think any other game does. The social aspect and then the sandbox aspect. And
it's kind of like Doom 2016, where like old is new again when you put like a fresh spin on it.
Yeah.
And you know, and like I really liked Halo 4 and 5, and this even goes back to Reach to an extent, but like those games almost seem like they kind of tried to incorporate too much from other games instead of like focusing on the core strengths of Halo, especially Halo 4 with their loadouts and stuff like that. But you know, they're kind of like doubling down on what makes Halo unique and fun, and evolving it in ways that make sense, evolving it in ways that are for the better, you know, and fresh takes, fresh ways. So yeah, it
was the most fun I had. It's the most fun I've had. I said it was my game of the year, the tech test.
Yeah.
I had a buddy, you know, not as much of an Xbox.
Is he a developer?
Really? No. But he was like, he called me out on it. Like, he texted me. He's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "I'm not. I'm serious. If that's all I had to play all for Halo this year, it would have been my game of the year. It was the most fun I've had in a long time."
This is why I don't do reviews, because like I've played so many freaking good games this year. I'm like, I can't pick, but
I have too.
It's incredible though.
It's up there. It's definitely up there.
And this is like oh, go ahead, Mike.
No, go.
No, you let me go first last time.
I'll go. My game of the year.
I think it was Paul Tassi that he said that the multiplayer is so good they can delay the campaign and it would still be an awesome launch. And like, I don't think everyone would agree with that, but I think there's merit to that comment. You know, that idea that
so strong.
Yeah, the multiplayer is so strong that, and you are going to have a large portion of the Halo fan base that they only download the free to play. They never even bother or buy the campaign, and that's perfectly fine. But like the fact that people are talking so highly about just a flight with 4 maps, or I'm sorry, 5.
5, yeah, eventually.
5 maps, yeah. I mean that's just saying something. And we didn't have all of the equipment types. We didn't have all of the weapons. I mean, there's still a good chunk of content missing from what potentially can be in those maps. And it just the overall, you know, you were pleasing the old fans, the new fans. I mean, for all of the pressure and all of the criticism that has been thrown at 343, they really did like almost like, so far they've been pulling off the impossible, and like I can't really give them enough credit.
I was gonna say, it's like this has been the most exciting thing for me has been seeing new players like it a lot, seeing old players who only loved old Halo love it, and then seeing people like some of us who like both and understand their merits also like be on that same page where, you know, it's, you know, Halo 3 of until 5 came out was my most played Halo. 5 came out. I probably put more hours into that because my wife and I played the hell out of Warzone Firefight. But this is the first time in years that I feel like I could play the competitive multiplayer like I used to play Halo 3.
Yeah.
Like just a shit ton, and so because it is so varied, and as somebody who's been playing a lot of Reach multiplayer lately for challenges and MCC, God, let me get off that train. And because this was such a stark contrast, it is tight, it is balanced, and that is everything that Reach wasn't. So it's exciting times.
You can't be balanced when you have armor lock. That's just.
Oh, don't even get me started. And most of the weapons in Reach. Anyway.
Yeah, Reach was prototype Destiny. It was very different.
Yeah, Reach was a great campaign, and I loved Firefight in Reach, but man, that multiplayer. Ugh.
All right, guys. So I think we do want to pivot to some of the questions since we are coming up. We'll be in 2 hours here pretty soon. Obviously, there's some other things we could talk about. We'll save them for other shows. I mean, I think like looking at that map and thinking about what that might mean for campaign, that'd be an interesting topic in the future. But let's move on to some of the community questions for now. Unless I cut somebody off of a thought that they wanted. But you guys are good. All right.
Space Gophers. That's all I want to say.
Oh, looks like I disappeared again. Jesse, you have to fix me on the camera.
Yeah, but anyway, all right, fix that. There, you can be asleep.
Cue garbage, fix me now. What?
Oh my God. All right, guys.
Those are my if you're AFK.
All right, who has the community questions? Go ahead.
Got him. Boop. There we go. Right after I fix you. Okay, logo can go. First up, from Halo Gaming 08, aka Andrew Schmidt. After the recent betas and flights for all 3 big first-person shooters this holiday, those being Battlefield 2042, Call of Duty Vanguard, which sucks, and Halo Infinite. What do you... After the... do you think Halo Infinite has the most to gain or lose?
Both.
Yeah, I mean,
because right now you look at polls, whether it's Twitter polls, different sites and stuff, or forum polls. I think universally most people would agree that Halo had the best of the 3 flights. And that is feeding into the hype and stuff. But if the unlikely scenario that the multiplayer fails to deliver across the board, like these flights have, and kind of alluded to and given hope to, and instead, Call of Duty knocks it out of the park, or Battlefield knocks it out of the park, and really, I hope all 3 do. But
because you're a big Bobby Kotick fan.
Yeah, no, I hope.
Maybe not
I
so
hope
much
Call of Duty.
That can they're due for.
I hope that falls on
there.
his face. Yeah. They need.
We know that developers aren't getting paid what they deserve, anyways, win or lose. So,
the lady developers are getting paid in compliments. It's fine.
Anyways,
I don't even want to get in that.
But yeah, if comparatively so, Battlefield and Call of Duty turn out to be amazing, and Halo less or so, then I think that even if it's not warranted, I think the backlash would be larger just because of the expectations these flights have built, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that's a likely scenario, but there's a, however small of a chance of that happening, that's where I think that's their game to lose. But really, as long as they continue on this path, it's mostly all gains.
If I can jump in, looking at it the way it is, so you have Call of Duty is $70 for the campaign and multiplayer, or free for their updated Battle Royale. Then you have Halo, which is free to play multiplayer, or a $60 campaign that's also on Game Pass. And then Battlefield is just a flat $70 for just multiplayer in 3 various modes, with the Hazard Zone, which also looks really good. The Portal system, where it's, Battlefield's history and you can all fight each other, and their main... I honestly think Battlefield has the most to lose, because
Yeah.
They don't have a free to play or a subscription to fall back on. So if they don't hit hard,
and they don't have a campaign,
they don't. If they don't hit hard with that multiplayer right off the bat, if things are rough, if they're broken, if people aren't buying it, not the fact that you can generally get refunds within 14 days or a couple hours played if everything's broken, it'll really hurt the launch of that game in a way where they're not going to have the same type of. Like, they'll have battle passes, they'll have their new stuff all throughout the time, but there's never a free-to-play hook for bringing people back. It's going to have to be, we're discounting pretty quickly now, as where the other two both have their free-to-play, or in Halo, free-to-play and subscription, and a cheaper price to start with. So I do think Halo has more to gain because of their their every angle friggin' Hydra approach. They could gain way more than they've had in the past. Call of Duty is going to really hope to maintain, and will have a lot to lose if finally people just say, okay, you've crapped on my head enough, Call of Duty, I won't buy you this year.
And because of what's going on with Activision Blizzard.
Like, I won't touch it. Well, just because it's Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah,
even on top
but
of
also,
that,
like, our site won't. We didn't do Diablo 2. We won't do Call of Duty. So, and that'll devastate them because we're enormous.
That'll show them. But
We're the number one Halo podcast on XboxEra.
Yep. But like, Jesse, you make a really good point, especially after coming off of Battlefield 5, which I think they did a good job fixing up and stuff. But I don't think that ever, even after the fixes, people, it's not like they were coming back in droves.
No, it got bumps when it went on like EA Play and stuff, but it was never enormous.
It never got to the heights of Battlefield 1.
Yeah, my biggest concern is that EA has a tendency to kill projects if they're not immediately turning a profit, right? And so my biggest concern is that Battlefield launches in a poor state, or because of the competition, it's not going to hit the numbers that EA wants them to, and then it's not going to get the support that it needs to get better, just like we saw with Anthem. That's my biggest concern, and I hope that's not the case, because this is EA's, aside from their sports titles, this is their biggest property. So, I mean, I think
we'll know how well they're doing with whether or not it appears on Game Pass like a month or two after launch.
It's going to be on there. It's going to be on there sooner than probably. But I've heard this argument like on some of the other shows I went on too since this, and talking about the state.
Was it with the one with your friend Crap Gamer?
Stop it! Stop it! All right. Anyways,
friend of Abe, not friend of the show, by the way.
Good Lord. Anyways, so I. Just kind of on that note, like the on the note of like these other games maybe clearing the runway for Halo. Like, to me, that's not even the focus, right? Like, I think people are looking at this wrong, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether those games, fall flat on their face or not. This is really more about how well does Halo stick its landing, right? Yeah. And I think, to your point, Mike, there's something to be said that right now it has the biggest. Right now, the mind share is the best coming out of that, and I think we saw that. I don't know if that was Tassie or somebody else that showed those like how they were trending, after the tech test, the tech preview. But beyond that, to me, like, I think that's really focusing on it wrong, because we know over time there's going to be other great games for it to compete against, and this is a long-term thing. I just think. It kind of hit me, again, going back to the big team battle, what really hit me was the potential of Halo. Not so much what's wrong with everything else, but the potential of Halo. And I think that potentially, and to Mike's point, if they can be consistent, right, and they continue to build the right way, they have a potential monster on their hands, I think. Because it nails its own niche, and I can point to an example as Rainbow Six Siege, right? Like, that almost feels like a niche type of like a niche type of game where it has its own lane. Nobody else really competes with it. It's gargantuan, right? Like, after all these years, it's still top 10 played on despite the fact that it launched at a sub 80 Metacritic and all these other things, because it found its own audience. Halo's going to have its own audience, but in addition to that, I think it's more viral. We saw that with the Sandbox, and it's more social. It accommodates 12 players now, and who knows what it's going to be down the road when, with all, we haven't even got into like what the Forge could potentially do. And like, this is going to be just the beginning, and they've nailed the foundation. They have their own lanes. I'm so happy that they've decided not to try to chase other trends or try to be like anybody else. They are Halo. It is a Halo-esque Halo, but it's the best Halo-esque Halo that it's ever been. And it's free to play, and it's going to be on PC, and it's eventually people are going to be able to stream it, even if you're, even if you are one of these naysayers because you don't have an Xbox, you'll be able to pick up your DualSense and stream it eventually. And if they do the matchmaking right, they'll be able to accommodate that as well. I know that that's not the ideal way to play a game with a high skill gap, but again, this comes down to that there is some social modes in it, and if they do the matchmaking the correct way within those social modes, you should be able to have a reasonably good experience in that way. So yeah, I think that there's in my opinion, it has the most to gain out of all of them, because we kind of know where the other ones can level out at, and I just think that people are, I think we've been conditioned after how the Xbox One went to have certain tempered expectations. We'll use Nick's, famous, favorite quote. Tempering your expectations. Yeah, I don't think we need to temper our expectations with Halo. Yeah. I really think where it launches, I think it's in a great spot right now. But I think the end of 2022, it should be, if they continue to do what they should do, it should be in a much better spot at the end of 2022, end of 2023, especially once you start adding in Forge, new modes, things like that. And so, yeah, I think it has the most to gain easily out of all three.
Yeah, and I think.
Go on.
Good, Mike. I'm really quick. I was going to say I think people can safely shed that Xbox One kind of PTSD because of how, I mean, we're seeing how not only how popular Game Pass has been, how popular Halo is right now, but like, I mean, it took me 13 tries to get that damn console. Like, people are clearly excited about Halo and about the Xbox in a way that they haven't been. I mean, I think in Japan they just surpassed 100,000, which was almost more than Xbox One sold in its entire 8-year run so far over there. So they're clearly doing things right. So I think people can kind of shed that fear a little bit.
And this is minor, but as it might be, excuse me, I'm sorry, I got to take this. It's work calling, but you guys want.
All right, let's go. I guess we can come back to Mike's thoughts afterwards. Do you want to go to the next question there?
Yep, just give me a second. You got to turn Mike's webcam off again. There we go. From good old Collingwood. Hello, you had me at Hello Crew. This will be the last time I listen to this podcast live, as at the end of this day, my community will go out of lockdown and we will be able to go back to the office next week. So thanks for the enjoyment of listening to the podcast live, even though I'm not a Halo player. So I am going to ask you all to look past the next 2 months and even the first year of Halo, which you were just doing, and ask each of you, where do you think Halo Infinite will be in December of 2022? What state do you want to see Halo Infinite at? What will you be playing? And do you think you will be as enthusiastic about Halo Infinite then as you are now? Please take the recent leak of Forge into account. GOC, aka Good Old Collingwood. P.S. For your compilation of Halo Infinite flight clips, is it a standard that... What? Oh. Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Flats Spanish Fleet is included in any clip show. I'll let Sick know. It's music.
I feel like we just talked about this one, so I should have read ahead before I chase another squirrel. Yeah, no. Basically, the gist of it, Mike, is do we see ourselves being as excited in 2022 as we are now, or coming out this year? And I like I said, I think they're going to continue to build on it. I think people are not factoring right now the impact Forge is going to have, especially if you guys looked at the leaks. There's going to be, like,
I mean,
content creators are going to be in heaven.
It's a damn near game engine with their nodes support and scripting, and I mean, it's.
I think PC Gamer said that. Yeah, it's basically like game engine.
How it really it all depends on how much you can pack into the memory. It seems like because that's always been the limiting thing for me in Forge in the past. Like, granted, I haven't really tried it out much in Halo 4 or 5, but I remember in Halo Reach, especially when they released that Forge World, I think it was called or something.
Yep.
I had a lot of like ambitious ideas of like
out of memory.
You just ran out of memory before, and sometimes it made no sense to me because I had plenty of memory, but you were still limited to how many objects you can place. You can play so like as long as there's not those types of just arbitrary limitations. I cannot. As someone that has not been huge in the Forge, I cannot wait to dive in the Forge after seeing those leaks, and that's to me that's saying something. And what I was going to say real quick. Before work had to ruin fun as always. It's minor, but one of the cool things is with it coming out in December, it's going to be after those games. So after the hype wave hits for Battlefield, after the hype wave hits for Call of Duty, Halo is going to have that. I think that can potentially extend the mindshare of Halo. Because a lot of people do like to move on to the latest, greatest, the newest thing, and that's going to be the last one. So that,
I don't know if there's going to be another game that's going to have content coming out for it consistently as long. Like the way 343 is built, like the way 343 is set up. And I think there's been rumors about the budget and things like that. I think people kind of misconstrue that because I think that budget and the way they're built is. It wasn't just to get this game out. What we're going to see December 8th, it wasn't just for that. They're built and set up to continue to build content, continue to bring maps, but not just that. They're going to continue to bring game modes. We still don't know what the firefight's going to be. They're going to in the potential off of that. Like there's going to. I think there's an ability to continue to refresh the excitement. That you don't really get in a lot of games because we know Call of Duty eventually is going to do their DLCs and get ready for the next one, and Battlefield 2. I mean, maybe that'll go a little bit longer. We'll see. But like, I think to your point, Dan, you make a good point. Sometimes they don't if it doesn't hit as well. So this is going to be very different, though, I think, than any other game that's come out that's free to play in the amount of new content that they keep pumping out, and it's in a unique spot because it's supposed to drive a platform. It's not just about that that game, and I think they can afford to do things that maybe other developers can't. So I think we should expect that it should every year they're just going to keep building and building. They've said it over and over to Mike's chagrin that they keep talking about this as a start, but that's what they really mean. It really is about.
Don't even fucking get me started.
Yeah,
it's damage control.
No, it's not damage.
It's not damage control. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a big full package more than most games have ever become.
But then focus on the package. Don't keep on like launch is just the start. Launch is just the start. Yeah, like no shit. We all know launch is a start, especially
you have a tendency to get like uber concerned about verbiage. That doesn't need to be.
No. I only get uber concerned about verbiage when it's in every blog post, every stream. Because like marketing is very much a subliminal effort. No. I'm not saying that is marketing. I'm just saying that you want to drive a message. You hammer it time and time and time again, and that's exactly what they've done with launch is just the beginning. Where, but I think most people care most about launch right now. No one right. But what I'm playing a year from now doesn't do me any good. This year,
you are. Let me finish this point. You are attaching negative connotation where we've had no evidence that there needs to be this far. That's my only point.
No. I'm not automatically jumping that it's negative. I'm half joking when I'm saying it's damage control. But when you say it so many times, like it's to me, it's less about like, focus less on what's coming after launch and show us more of what's coming at launch. Is what is my view of it. Like I just want to know what we're getting at launch.
I'm going to break the tie. I think I actually I get what you're saying, Mike. I especially after what they've been through to kind of focus on making sure, trying to communicate they're going to hit that. But I do think that the roadmap is such a big part of this. I also understand that they need to set those expectations, right? To kind of stay engaged. They want to keep that excitement about, I think what they're trying to build is something where people are going to constantly be looking to say, oh, what's next? Be excited about the next thing.
And that's fair.
No, I get what you're saying. I understand where it's coming from, but at the same time, I know what the developers they really want to build this. They're going to keep emphasizing that because I think that's going to be part of their shtick. It's always like there's always going to be something new. There's always going to be something new, and
that doesn't necessarily mean that what you have now is bad.
No, and that's fair. But in the last pilot stream, they tied it to, which I thought. The reaction, like some people act like this was a huge thing, but they tied it to something that wasn't made, some feature that wasn't going to be there at launch. I forgot what it was.
I get what you're saying.
And then whenever they had the post first flight blog post, they tied things that weren't going to be there at launch to, so like it. They have, I get what you're saying. They have deliberately tied it to things that are not going to be there at launch, and it makes sense in that context, but
I get you.
I think turns into like a broken record type thing where like just give me what is going to be there. Focus on the positive stuff. Focus on what is going to be there at launch. Why I should be excited about December 8th, because like when they do stuff like that is when the hype around Infinite is at its height. When they're showing us big team battle that we're going to get at launch, when they're showing us these maps that we're going to get at launch, that's when the hype really spills over. No one gets hyped for like what we're gonna play 3 months from now. Well, for launch though, like does that make you more hyped for December 8th? Is my point.
Part of it is, and I'll put it this way. I do think and again I totally understand what you're saying. And I think part of the developers are kind of excited about the roadmap because I think they know this is like the tip of the iceberg kind of thing, and I think just based on some of the leaks we've seen, we expect this is kind of the tip of the iceberg thing. But I think part of me being excited about where it's at today doesn't even make me more excited about the future, going to that question, because they nailed the foundation and there's so many things they can do with it. And I know that they are going to try to do a lot of things with it. So no, I hear what you're saying. I think there is something to be said about messaging, but I also get the other side of it. And I think we should move on to another question.
Really quick, I wanted to say, because I didn't actually get to answer the question.
I'm sorry.
I think the two things that people tend to forget about this launch, and in terms of are people going to be excited next year? I mean, we've never had a launch of Halo on 2 separate generations and PC. So you got a ton. I mean, look at Sea of Thieves, look at Forza, Horizon 4. You've got like 28 million plus. You're going to have probably that same number on Halo. And then when you add in Forge and you bring in all the people who love things like Minecraft, and like Mike was saying, like I used to dabble in Forge back in Reach, but then I couldn't make my dinosaur racetrack and I gave up. So like having like the freedom that this seems to entail, it brings in all those creative types that love Minecraft and stuff, and then people like Mike and I who just love to dabble with AI and scripting and trying something new. So I think next year, I'm absolutely going to be still.
I'm sorry. Did we move on to the second question whenever I stepped away? Like, was a second? Okay, so the second question is.
It was the who has the most to. Do they have the most to win or lose? So
that was the first question.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
No, the first one was sorry, you're right. Good old Collingwood was the second one.
Okay, and that was whether or not people are still going to be excited next year?
Yeah, how do you think you're going to feel about it in about a year?
Better than even this year, and I hope to feel really good this year. Like that, because this time next year we're going to have co-op campaign. We're going to have I mean, I almost half expect them to kind of do like a year one edition or not relaunch, because that makes it seem like it needs it, but kind of like just a highlight like how far they've come, because they're going to have fours, they're going to
kind
have
of an anniversary update like they
Yeah.
did Sea of Thieves. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And like, who knows what they're going to add, like, you know, to the campaign, what
they're going to add ridiculous armor,
cowboy hats, as Mortang said.
Lil Nas X collab is coming.
I think I'd much rather work right now than talk about it.
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Oh man! Yeah, all right, 100%. We should move on.
Damn it, Bobby.
To the last. We're not at 2. We're now over 2 hours.
All right. So from some dickhead named Podrick Payne. Greetings, you ragtag group of Covenant buggers, or Yanmeis for the nerds. When December 8th comes and we get the full launch suite of multiplayer modes, do you think SWAT will be included? I'm asking for an annoying Australian friend who I won't name. Let's just call him Ed.
Look, all I'm saying is that SWAT is the most skill-based Halo match ever. There's nothing like it.
And it's guaranteed to have boost. It's going to have them, the boosters. It would be weird if it didn't. And then everyone looks and is like, what?
I assume that everybody likes SWAT. I don't know about you guys, but I do.
As someone that does like SWAT, I hope it is. I really
do too.
I mean, I can't play only that, but I like the more traditional modes. I can play those longer. But I would be surprised if SWAT was it. Is there do games do they not launch with SWAT? Did 5 not launch with SWAT? I wasn't there for Halo 5's launch.
Oh, so I cannot remember. I don't remember, because I only play SWAT when I'm forced to, because I'm with some people that want to warm up in SWAT, but I'm not a SWAT dude. Yeah, I don't remember. It was there pretty early on. That much I do remember. I don't remember if it was on launch day though. So
okay, yeah. I don't gravitate towards it automatically, so yeah. I don't recall if it's typically there or not at launch.
It's Call of Duty. It is Call of Duty Halo Magic one. Yeah, that's I agree. If you just want one shot, kills, go play Call of Duty. But anyways,
they should get rid of SWAT and just have a mode where you have shotguns and portals and it's all one shot. Oh wait, no, that mode sucks. He's not here. I can say it.
Yeah, so
I think it does benefit them to have because with it being free to play, with it being on console, PC, cloud, it's going to be on all of these different ways to play. Yeah. It benefits them to have a wide variety of game modes. So hopefully they do.
Well, especially SWAT, it doesn't even take anything other than taking off your shields, right? Like it's an easy game mode to create. So the base is going to be bigger than ever. You can mix PC and console if you want, and cloud people, and at that point, it's with it being free to play, they should be able to support more modes than ever before eventually, right? So why wouldn't you have that mode? So we'll wait and see, but I would expect it, if it's not there day one, to be pretty soon. Just my opinion. Don't know for sure. All right, cool. Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Well, we've gone over 2 hours, so
like always, that's pretty short for us.
Yeah, that's a short show.
Bedtime.
But all right. So who wants to do the sign off today? Mike, you want to try to butcher the sign off? Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, thank you for watching, especially if you hung out this long. We have a YouTube channel, obviously. Definitely give us a like and subscribe if you have not already. Check out our website at XboxEra.com. We also have a Patreon with multiple different levels of subscriptions, I guess is that?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's called. And, definitely we love and appreciate all of our Patreon subscribers. And, check us out on Twitter. And also, lately we've been streaming on Twitch. Mostly Jesse, but I do have a once a week stream. And is Justin still doing the co-op?
I don't know.
Okay.
Soul did it last time. We'll try to get it going again on Wednesday nights.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. But
it's also been partially my bad.
We are everywhere. So
like the Force.
We have put out like 25 goddamn reviews this month. It's been kind of crazy.
And yeah, you're a robot, Jesse. Yeah, and we do appreciate everybody who's been in the chat. Appreciate you interacting with us, even though I haven't. I'm trying to watch multiple things at once. So, but we do appreciate you being there. And as Mike said, you know, we are organically grown the way that Pegasus Nation would want it to be.
I am organic. I'm not a robot.
God.
I mean, you're made out of carbon, so you're organic, you know.
Do you want to know if Halo is doing well? And then you just look at the pony nations that are out there yelling about the Xbots, and they're all really trying to play down Halo because that's where console warriors go.
But yeah, we're here to celebrate gaming. So come to our forums as well. We XboxEra forums. Yeah. Definitely mention that. You can have. We'll be in there interacting about Halo amongst other things. We do celebrate gaming. We're not. We don't approve of any sort of console warring
unless it's against the Ouya people. They're just weird.
Yeah. I mean, we will troll you. All right.
We even have a thriving on live community. We love everyone.
Yeah, and we're not going to end up selling to somebody for, you know, what was that? How many millions?
4.5 mil. I know John's home address if he tries to pull that.
I was going to say, John's back there like, I don't know, guys.
it's like how much could we get? All right, guys.
$4.5.
I think that's it.
Alrighty, folks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye.